I'm Jessica Rusker, and this is Music Therapy. Welcome. I'm a musician based here in Chicago, Illinois, and I'm also a licensed clinical professional counselor. Hey, Angel. We'll have you on in a second. So today I've got Fire-Toolz on, Angel Marcloid, and I'm very, very excited to talk to her. I'm going to start out with a quick introduction to the show, let some more people hop on, and then we'll get to talking. So let's see. Music Therapy is a show I started towards the beginning of the pandemic to offer a space for mental health support and kind of create a place where creatives could come together and hang out and listen to each other and share stories. And, you know, it sort of evolved into talking about a combination of mental health issues and career stuff for creatives, creativity itself, and just kind of wherever the conversation takes us. So I'm interested to see where we end up today. Let's see, a couple things I wanted to talk about. This Halloween, well, October 30th, not Halloween, Friday, October 30th, Music Therapy presents Halloween Therapy. It's going to be a streaming show on Instagram, and I have a huge list of amazing Chicago artists who are all going to do cover songs, and it's going to be really fun. It's going to be a hang. So please tune in. I'll have information on that on my page. And yeah, I think that's it for kind of startup stuff. I'm going to play my song that I was open with the song, so let me play one. This is one I wrote during the pandemic. It's called I Miss You, My Friends. And then we'll have Angel on. Okay. I miss you, my friends, but it's not the end. Even if you wanted to, a call from you or it's the summer will spring and church bells will ring. Even if it's far away, it comes some days and it's then. And it's all there. I know it's been hard and it's probably far. We'll sit in the silence and stare at our cars, and the walls are our hugs. Our hair is our breath, and everything else is what's left. I love you too, and soon the flowers will bloom. How do you choose? Well, I said it's hard to get by, but somehow I'll try. Even if it's long and strange, we'll turn the page to the end. All right, thanks for listening. So I'm not going to waste any more time. Let's get Angel on here. So Angel, you just request to join, and we'll get you on, and we'll start talking. Let's see here. We'll figure it out. Just give us a second to connect. Thank you guys for hopping on tonight, watching. Here we go. So for everyone who's just joining, I've got Angel Marcloid of Fire-Toolz, and we're connecting. Hi.
Hello.
How are you?
Good.
Good. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Sometimes there's as you can imagine, there's a delay between us. So if it ever feels like I'm talking, if I interrupt you, it's not on purpose sometimes.
Yeah, I edit podcasts regularly. So
Do you?
I'm always dealing with this.
Is there like a certain podcast that you work with?
I do. I actually don't really like doing it except for this one client. So I used to try to find clients, but now I kind of don't want any more. But I edit for a podcast called Buddha at the Gas Pump. It's like a spiritual podcast. It's like interfaith, like all traditions. My friend just interviews different authors and teachers and therapists and shamans or whatever it is. Yeah,
I would imagine it's kind of tedious editing podcasts, especially if you don't care for the content that much.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's not very creative. I don't get very creative. I'm just kind of cleaning up audio and editing out people coughing and stuff like that. So it's not, I don't get to really express myself in any way. And so it's not the funnest thing because I think I'm addicted to being creative or something.
Is that a source of income for you, doing that podcast, or is that more of a favor?
Well, it's actually for a nonprofit, so I don't charge them that much, but I do mixing and mastering for a living. That's my full-time job. And so I was kind of editing podcasts underneath that company. But now I'm just focusing on mixing and mastering and then like production or composition for people who need music for whatever reason.
Okay. That's cool. Well, that's something that I'm always really interested to ask people about is what, in addition to doing your own music, what your day-to-day looks like. I've kind of anchored a lot of these conversations in what did your life look like before the pandemic and what it looked like after, but now it's been so long. This is just sort of the way of life now that it almost feels like, what is your day-to-day? What does this week look like? Can you give us an overview of how you spend an average week?
Yeah, well, you know what? Before the pandemic, my life was very, very close to what it is now. So I guess that tells you a lot as far as how often I go out. And that's a problem. I want to go out more. But it's kind of hard to now. But let's say this week is the same as most weeks where I'll be spending the daytime probably in my little studio here, working on projects for mostly other people, but also for myself. I get out of bed pretty early and relax for a while before I do that. And there's plenty of relaxation after I'm done doing that. So it's a pretty peaceful life. Internally, not so peaceful sometimes, but externally, it's very nice. I used to live in the city, but now I live outside the city in the boonies on the edge of Chicagoland. So I actually do spend time outside a lot more than I did when I was living in the city. So yeah, in the morning I'll like sit out on the front stoop and drink coffee and watch the squirrels and the birds. And there's a neighborhood cat named Steve that comes and visits me every couple of days in the morning. So we hang out and I watch him try to chase squirrels, and he's terrible at it. He'll never catch one, no matter how much he tries. So yeah, that's really my day to day. I mean, if there weren't a pandemic, I'd probably be sampling all the restaurants in this town. And I'm really itching like a suburban mall vibe. I've been missing it a lot. I feel like I need to like go to like a Hot Topic once a year to stay sane. I haven't been able to do that, but if there weren't a pandemic, I'd probably be doing that. I know a lot of people are doing stuff like that anyway, and that's fine, but I don't know. I'd rather play it a little safer if I can.
Yeah. So what was your reason for moving from more in the city to outside the city?
I'm not a city person, really. I have a hard time with the pace and the density, the lack of nature, and people's temperament tends to be more aggressive, defensive, maybe just like even just moody. And I'm moody too, but that's why I need this where I live now. It's very good for me stress-wise. And the city was definitely affecting that a lot. I realized a couple months after moving here, I was just like, wow, my stress levels in general have just like plummeted. And I don't like to rely on external circumstances to determine my inner state. I mean, I know that's how it is with everybody to whatever extent, but I really would rather not rely, because, you know, who knows what could happen. You know, maybe my neighbors will end up being crazy or something, you know, so I want to be able to be stable regardless. But at the same time, I gotta admit, moving out here was I was really overdue for it. So it's a big relief.
That's good.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you really try to regulate your inner state to not be impacted by external circumstances. Is that right?
Yeah, I try to, I guess. I mean, it's inevitable, and there's only so much regulation you can do. I mean, feelings arise whether you want them to or not. Thoughts come in whether you want them to or not. I mean, you can over time train your brain, and certain thoughts may not come up as much, but when they do, it just happens. So, you know, you need to be able to handle them. And yeah, I would say I'm constantly working on that. I get exhausted working on that. But that's how I know I'm pushing too hard. So, yeah.
When those are happening.
On and on.
With what?
I could just go on and on about all of that. So.
That's great. That's what.
Yeah. Well, you should direct me a little bit though, or else I'll just take over the whole stream, and we'll be going for probably 3 hours. So.
Well, I wanted to. I mean, for those who have joined after I did the intro, I'm a Chicago musician, but I'm also a licensed therapist. So I kind of combined those two things for this show to be kind of a therapy space for creatives, and that can branch out in a whole different way, a lot of different ways. But one thing I'm interested in is careers of musicians and creatives, and kind of where you're at, how you came to that, where you want to be, if you are where you want to be. I think that is really interesting. It's interesting to me, and I think it's interesting to a lot of people who really want their artwork to be an integral part of their lives. But I'm also interested in, we had checked in before doing the show. You had said, therapy's been a big part of your life for a while now. And so part of this is also to give people space to whatever degree you're comfortable with, to share your own experience about therapy and your own experience with your own mental health. And so that I'm going to kind of open up and let you talk a little bit, but maybe I'll talk to you about the career stuff first. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it sounds like you definitely have, established yourself as, it sounds to me like pretty fully into a career of music, both your own music and then doing mixing and engineering for other people. Composing.
Yeah. I always thought that music wouldn't provide enough for me, because I've always just been into like weirder stuff. And it's never been, I've never had an intention to rebel. I have no desire to go against any grain if I like the grain, So I don't mean to be this way, but for some reason, I just always into the weird stuff, and always taking something that could be otherwise normal and making it weird. And I just always assumed that wouldn't provide, because when I was growing up, there was a lot of pressure in the music industry to appease the audience. And I mean, for good reason. If you wanted to make a career out of it, like play songs people want to hear, and be professional and face the audience and look at them and connect with them and put on a show. And so I've always had a really hard time with all of those things. So I just kind of thought, I'll just do something else for a living and just do music as my hobby. And that's kind of what I'm doing. But, if I look at like numbers, like actual like dollars and cents, music makes up probably a third of my income, whereas the other stuff is another 2/3.
When you say music, do you mean your music?
Yeah, like my own music as Fire-Toolz or whatever, moniker, like my own original music that I'm not doing for other people.
Yeah, okay.
And that's crazy to me because I never thought that would ever be the case. I always thought that I would have some little following in the underground. Well, it is kind of in the grand scheme a little following in the underground, but I don't know. My mind's just blown that I'm able to make the kind of music I make, and I actually get, like it's a decent amount of attention, like in publications. Like that wasn't even a thing for so long in my life. Like nobody ever like wrote a thing about me. So I'm not really sure, like if music ends up sort of taking over my career and it pushes out the mixing and mastering work, like I'm okay with that because like my number one love is obviously making music. I just want to sit around all day and make my own music. I would just love to do that. So we'll see what happens. But I really love doing audio engineering too. Like I've developed such a passion for it, and it's become so nuanced and like it's never ending, the discovery and learning and training and everything. So I would be also perfectly fine if that was like my career. So
what was your exposure, if any, to the, making music or the music industry when you were kind of growing up or coming up?
Well, my parents weren't musicians, but they were really supportive. I mean, we didn't have a whole lot of money, but they saw potential in me. So they invested in, trying to help me. So, when I was young, I got a decent drum set and I got a decent guitar. I had a bass for a while. They kind of just paid attention to me and what I was like maybe good at, and then tried to just like go with that. So like I guess the first thing they noticed is that I was a drummer. Like I had rhythm. I'm beating on pots and pans and stuff in the house, playing along to like Boston and Rush and whatever they were listening to, Zeppelin or something. And they're like, okay, we need to get a drum set. Like this looks like something is brewing, because I'm like 3 and I like know when the changes come. And I'm, I hit the pots right when the drummer on the radio hits the crash cymbals, and my parents are like, oh, light bulb. So I started doing that, but like I was, I've also never been one to focus on one thing. I can't. It's impossible. So it's like, oh, I want to make melodic stuff happen too. So I want to play guitar, and I had a keyboard too, and I would play that for hours and hours. So it was kind of everything all at once. I definitely didn't get everything I wanted, but like if my dad saw that I was being held back because I didn't have a better like guitar or like or something like that, or if like I like for a while I was teaching myself double kick, like fast double kick, like so like metal and stuff on a single pedal, and I would put my 2 tiny little feet on one pedal and like do this, and my dad was just like, all right, I guess we got to get a double pedal because like this needs to happen. We got to help it happen. So that was kind of my music upbringing. And then I guess when I was like in my just getting into my double digits, like other people kind of, well, older than me, but not that much older than me, would sort of like pop in to my life as like being good at guitar or something like that. So I met this, well, I think I was like, I might have been 9 or 10 or something, and I'm pretty sure he was like 12 or 13 or something. This guy, Andrew Sinowick, he's still playing music. He's done a lot of stuff. He has credits on Frozen. That's like my favorite thing in his repertoire. But like he lived near me, And we started playing music together, and we were like learning like Dream Theater songs and like Rush songs and Rage Against the Machine and Candlebox and stuff. And we were just like two little kids, but like I don't know, we were kind of like born with maybe some like natural abilities to like develop talents like early on. I don't know what that is. It's weird, but so we were doing that for a while, but there was just, I was too young for the music industry, I think. And, you know, I started feeling all this pressure to like play what people wanted to hear and not what I wanted to play.
What do you mean by that? You started to feel pressure from anybody outwardly or from yourself?
Well, there was a natural pressure from the music industry, I guess. And I'm also trying not to like call out my parents because they were doing what they wanted to help me, wanted to support me, and did everything they thought they should be doing. I mean, they did their best. They saw the potential, and they were like, well, you got to start impressing people. You got to get attention of people who can, you know, back you up. Like you need a band of musicians that are, you know, like at your level, and you need like maybe a manager, and you know, just kind of, they were just doing what they could to like help me along so that I wasn't just playing in the basement, like playing like weird music all day for no one, you know, not making any money, not having a crowd. They, you know, they saw that potential and wanted to help it grow. And there was a lot of resistance from me because I always just wanted to do what I wanted to do. And I never stopped being like that. I still haven't. And you know, I can't not do that. I feel like for the rest of my life, I'm going to be a brat and I'm not going to be able to like do pop. I just can't.
That's okay.
But I might be like so much like better off financially if I did, maybe, because if I started, if I'm like 10 years old and I'm like, you know, I'm sloppy, but I'm playing along with like prog rock and stuff, like if I would have just like made some better decisions, like I might, you know, my life might be a lot different. But at the same time, I'm glad I didn't do that because I wouldn't be as happy probably.
Yeah. So, okay, I'm curious for you, you said your total income, about a third of it these days is coming from your own music. And if I can ask, what is the main source there? Is it downloads? Is it touring? Where's the bulk of that coming from?
It's just like everything together. I'm not even sure what's dominating.
Okay.
But downloads, just physical sales. I don't really tour that much, and obviously I'm not touring now, but I did, you know, tour for a little over a week this past December. And yeah, shows and just whatever artists can do, I guess. But I don't push like merch and selling stuff as far as my music, like very hard. And I'm trying to like change that. So I've done a couple big runs of t-shirts for 2 different projects of mine recently to try to make my music my income, you know. Being on Twitter and being annoying about my new shirts, telling people they're available over and over again is like a way for me to not have to like work a day job somewhere. If I had to get a day job where I'm living now, I don't know how easy or fun that would be.
Is there a risk of that? I mean, it sounds like you've got a lot of work.
No, I don't think there's a risk of that right now. I've had some dry spells, but they've been really brief. It's not crazy, but it's steady. But I'm also in a growth period. Like, I honestly need to be charging more, but with that, I need to get better, and I need to upgrade gear, and it's a big growth period. Like, I'm not where I want to be. I mean, I'm happy where I'm at, but like, you know, my goal is to, you know, be really super good at this and like be working for bigger bands and stuff like that. So
with mixing, you mean?
Yeah.
How do you get your clients? Is there a dominant channel, word of mouth or advertising? Or
It's pretty much word of mouth. That's dominant. I mean, I get website inquiries like a couple of times a week, I guess. And most of those come through with a project, but so much of it is word of mouth because, I mean, I have an advantage because I'm an artist that's like, you know, releasing music. And so anybody who, well, not everybody who listens to my music knows this, but a whole lot of them know this because they just find out about it in looking for my music, that I do this work.
Yeah.
So my music is promoting my business and vice versa. I mean, I've got people who have heard records I've worked on for other people, and then they end up checking out my music, like through going to my business website. So it's really cool that they support each other. And I really just think running my mouth on Twitter, like kind of gets me business, which is sad because I don't know, my Twitter self isn't my favorite self, but I haven't done much advertising. I've done a little and it's all failed. I've wasted like $800 advertising. So we'll see. I'll try to get better at that.
So, yeah, I mean, what is I'm trying to think of where I have a general sense. I'm kind of thinking about so many hats that musicians wear, where it's not just making music or even mixing their own music, but promoting it and doing Twitter and Instagram and all that. You said it's not your favorite self. What do you mean?
There's something about social networking that, and it's not all social networking. It's who we are. It's our personalities, and you know, we're making decisions, but it's like, I don't know, sometimes I just look at stuff I've posted and I just hear this like tone in my head that's like, nah, 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 nah. And I just like, I'm always deleting tweets because I'm just like, Angel, you sound like a dick. Like, shut up. So, but there's something about the platform and platforms like that like make it easier for people to do that. And there's plenty of psychology behind that. And I have conversations about it all the time. And, you know, I know, so there are people I know specifically that like I have, that I've not blocked, but like unfollowed, so I don't see them in my feed on Twitter, that are like always dicks on Twitter, but like I love them as people and they're like really nice, good people. But I just like, I don't know. Social networking is weird. Like I really want to be my true self on social networking. I want to be the same person I am in this house on Twitter. Actually, maybe that's a bad idea. I don't know. I just want to be genuine and authentic. And I guess if I am being a jerk on Twitter, I am being authentic because that's a part of me. But I don't know. I'm a little bit dissatisfied with my temperament and how I express myself. A lot of times, I'm a little bit nasty sometimes, or just a little bit kind of like harsh, but like this sort of like small amount that's just kind of like, I don't know.
A little edge.
Yeah.
So, okay, I mean, from some of the things you said, just a small amount of things that you've said, I get the feeling that are you more of an introverted person?
I have qualities of both depending on the situation. When it comes to crowds or groups of people, I tend to be really introverted, but I also really like to connect deeply with people. So like, you know, like I'm fine with doing this. This is great. And I know people are watching it. And that doesn't really bother me so much. And I'm willing to kind of talk about anything you want to talk about. But like, if I'm out and about, I like kind of don't even want to be bothered. And I don't really go after social activity like by choice, like hardly ever. Like there's a show I want to go to or a show I'm playing. I want to like eat at a restaurant, or I want to go walk in a park and there's a lot of people there, that's like one thing, because it's just incidental. But like, I don't like ever want to particularly do that. I'd rather be in a park alone. I'd rather, that's just like my style. It's like serenity, I guess. So I guess it's just kind of both.
Yeah.
Like, I have friends that I like really get into some super deep shit with on a regular basis, but if I'm in a show, I'm probably backstage, like hiding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let me segue to kind of the therapy and mental health side of things. I'm interested to hear more about your experience with that. So you had told me that, when I first reached out to you, you're like, I love therapists. I've been in therapy for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
What is your experience with therapy been? And obviously, it's comfortable as much as you're comfortable sharing, but I'm just going to leave it kind of open. That question kind of open.
Yeah. My experiences with therapy have been mostly positive. There's been a few things that I guess like didn't like, but most of the time people have been great. There was one appointment I had when I first moved to Chicago from Maryland, where I grew up.
Mm-hmm.
I had like one meeting with a therapist, and I like really wasn't vibing with her. She seemed really sort of conservative and like sort of concerned, like overly concerned about me. Like, kind of seemed to get this idea that I was like really troubled, like in an extreme kind of way. And like, I don't know, I was talking to her about anxiety and stuff, and she, I asked her about like possibly a medication, and I guess, for all she knows, I might have been, drug seeking or something. But I like asked about that, and she like got really concerned and was just like, "Do you smoke any marijuana?" And I was just like, "Yeah, I do." And she was like, "The like I think in a roundabout way, she was just like, you have to quit and take a drug test before I'll give you any medication." And before I refer to the the psychiatrist, refer you to her for any medication. And I thought that was kind of harsh, especially because it's just cannabis, and she didn't really know me, and it was like the first appointment, and I don't know, it was just bad vibes. But that was like one experience out of, I think I've had like maybe five other therapists throughout my life, and they've all been great. Some challenge me more than others. The ones that haven't really challenged me did still help me, but not really too much. I think they just thought I needed to talk. But then some of them would really push me, and occasionally I would like feel upset by them because it would just be challenging. They were making me face something, and those were the most transformative experiences.
Are you comfortable sharing any of the reasons you might have started or continued going to therapy?
Yeah. Well, when I was in my late teens, actually, when I was in my early teens, and even in my childhood, but in my early teens is when I started to like reflect on my own behavior. And I was like, I felt like that I just had a lot of pain inside, and I had a lot of problems with depression and occasionally acting out, like losing my temper. But my temper tantrums were always like really emotional, though. There was like a lot of crying. It wasn't so like angry as much as they were like anger mixed with sadness. And I guess when in my early teens, I just had this idea like, I'm going to grow out of this. Like, I'm getting older, like I'm going to level out. I see people level out all the time. When they get older, they stop acting like this. And then in my late teens, I was still doing it occasionally, like just getting triggered by just all sorts of little things that aren't really that abnormal to anybody in their teen years. But I was just like, I need help. Like, this is not normal. Like, I'm like freaking out at my parents or on my friends or my partner. Like I'm like snapping and like, yelling and like occasionally like breaking something. And that's bad. It's really bad. And, so I kind of encouraged my parents to get me into therapy, and I started doing that. And I think my first therapist didn't really challenge me at all, but it was still such a relief to be able to like talk to a therapist like at all, that I feel like it was like so much weight got lifted. But she never was like, what was your childhood like? Or, she wasn't ever like, she didn't seem to really care to get to the roots of anything. She kind of just wanted me to wanted to do surface work. And I don't know whether she was building up to something deeper or getting a feel for me or not, but it was just a lot of like trying to change this behavior and not very much trying to see what the root of that behavior is. So later on in life, as I moved around and changed insurance plans or whatever, I ended up getting way deeper with therapists. After that weird experience with the anti-cannabis lady, I started seeing another therapist, and she was just like Buddhisming me the whole time without mentioning the Buddha at all. And probably because she didn't want to like bring religion into it. But it's like I later on discovered Buddhism, and I'm like learning about it. I'm like, oh my God, like everything my therapist is like talking to me about, it's just like, is this.
So that brings me to a question I wanted to ask. Do you like Eckhart Tolle?
Oh my God, yeah. Like he's incredible. Yeah. I mean, that's so much of my progress has come from his teachings. I feel like I got started with Buddhism like inadvertently through my therapist, but Buddhism, I would say, brought me probably to Eckhart Tolle. And then from there, I started, learning about the Bhagavad Gita and the Upanishads and then Sufism. And now I'm on a mystical contemplative Christianity kick. And also getting really into the law of one. I'm not sure if you know what that is, but it's incredible. And it all aligns. It all agrees with each other. It's just like 12 beautiful different colored paths all kind of leading to like the same ultimate sort of ideas, just in different languages. And that just energizes the shit out of me. Like, so I'm just like, my therapy and spirituality have been like totally intertwined. They're like the same thing, really.
Have you ever looked at A Course in Miracles?
I didn't say that because I already said mystical Christianity, and I didn't want to keep saying things that maybe you didn't know I was talking about. But yeah, I mean, it's right over there. I like A Course in Miracles is absolutely mind blowing. Yeah. Yeah,
I feel you.
Yeah.
That's cool. So that sounds like that was really kind of groundbreaking for you. And, I feel aligned with you on some of that stuff. I think it kind of blew my mind too. Do you feel, are you in therapy now?
Yeah, I am. My current therapist I don't think that she's super spiritually inclined, or if she is, she like doesn't talk about it.
Yeah.
But I take everything I get from therapy, and it's all intertwined, even if the therapist is not going into that. I don't really know how to find a therapist who like is spiritual to the point where it's like part of their therapy. Like I don't even know how to like search. I've only just gotten lucky and happened to find somebody who was like into something. So Yeah, if I mean a therapist who was like into A Course in Miracles, that sign me up. I would consider switching therapists.
There's a handbook for therapists in A Course in Miracles.
Yeah, I know. I haven't looked at that part yet, but yeah.
To any of the viewers, also please feel free to, pop in some thoughts or questions if you have any. But here's a question. I mean, what are you focusing on like right now in therapy? Is there something in particular?
Yeah, basically just it's just kind of like healing, processing pain and stuff, and also I have a lot of issues with like safety and security and just like feeling generally unsafe, like in so many situations, sometimes sort of in an existential way and sometimes in a more like immediate way. And that affects everything that I do. And we're just kind of working on that, like incorporating like bits of exposure therapy and bits of like going into I don't know, just going into it, just a lot of talking about it. We don't have a specific like method that we're following at the moment, I don't think. I mean, it's kind of just dialectal.
How do you feel? How do you feel that feeling or that insecurity impacts you, kind of more specifically?
Well, it definitely affects my day to day, because, I mean, it manifests in so many different ways. It's everything from like loud noises, like freak me out and like piss me off. Like it's really strange, but I'll like get angry. Like earlier today, like our food delivery like knocked really hard on the door, and I'm just like, what the fuck? Yeah. and it's everything from that to like being out in public just kind of scares the shit out of me, because like even like weird looks, or like a look and a whisper, or a little kid like, mommy, what's that? Like, it's so, after all these years of looking like a weirdo, whether it was, before I came out as trans and I wasn't dressing as feminine, I still looked like a clown. I mean, I was like wearing leggings, and like I'm always like mismatching patterns and colors. Like that's just like how I roll. And like, so the attention has always been so grating. And, growing up, people would be like, well, if you don't want to be stared at, if you don't want to be messed with, like, why do you look like that? And I'm just like, I don't know. I have to look like this. So it's just a lifetime of that, building up and not coping properly, not processing it. Like, I've been bullied and harassed so many times in my life. And when I was really young and it would happen, it's very strange. I had no idea that I never processed it or told anybody about it until way later in my life. My therapist is talking with me. She's like, well, did you tell anybody when you got beat up? And I was just like, I don't know. Wait a minute. And I'm like texting my mom, like, did I ever tell you my ass got kicked in middle school by that dude? And that's why I wanted you to pick me up and stuff, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, no, you never told me about anything like that happening to you. And I'm just like, oh my God. This whole time, I've just been bottling up and pushing it down. And I wasn't even realizing it because I didn't know better. So it's like, you got to imagine, like, after doing that for so long, like now I'm in my 30s, and it's just like an anvil on me. It's just like baked into my neurology now, It's, I mean, it's PTSD, it's not as horrible as it is for a lot of people, but, I don't like to even say that term. I don't want to like hog the importance when there's people out there that have been, seen people get murdered and stuff like that, which I haven't. So But at the same time, that's basically what it is to some degree. A lot of developmental PTSD and just like not coping properly with certain things and pushing things down, and like just kind of like the perils of being like different from all your friends in some way, and what that can do to a body and a mind for many years before you wake up to it. So yeah, that's what I'm doing now, is just trying to heal and grow from all that shit.
Yeah. Do you feel like any of this, I'm sure it comes out because this is you and you're making your music, but do you ever consciously direct any of this work or this energy to your music?
Yeah. I guess that's all my music is in some way. Yeah, and I, anything that I'm writing lyrics for, or that, has vocals, I can only really write about what's on my mind or what I'm dealing with. It might look pretty esoteric or cryptic or something, but it's it's always where I'm coming from right at the moment. So every time I release an album, it's about stuff that I got over 6 months ago. And then probably writing that album helped me do that. And that's why every time an album comes out, I'm like, yeah, but you got to hear my new stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
You have something new about to come out, is that right?
Yeah, a couple singles have dropped, but October 30th, my new record as Non-Local Forecast will be officially out. There's a couple songs up now, but the rest of them will be up on the 30th. There's a record and a CD of it. It's my second album under that project.
So what would you say have been some themes that have been kind of baked into that album that's about to come out?
Well, Non-Local Forecast, I just got through telling you I put everything going on with me into it. But that project, I kind of purposely keep it pretty light. There are spiritual themes. There's science themes too, like quantum physics and cosmology and stuff. And I kind of, do the whole new age thing where I try to tie them together. But there's no vocals, so it's like in the song titles and stuff.
Okay.
References to like in the holographic universe theory and the multiverse theories and stuff, and non-duality buzzwords and stuff like that. So I guess it's kind of like Non-Local Forecast feels like a decoration or something, like something nice you put up to like get you in the spirit for something. Whereas Fire-Toolz is definitely more of a diary and a like catch-all for my emotional and mental barf. Yeah.
I like that. I like all the descriptors you just used.
I see someone mention Richard Feynman in the chat. Yes.
It's actually my husband who mentioned it.
Okay, awesome. Thumbs up.
I love all the hearts coming up. So, I mean, I can, see how much people are enjoying what you're saying. Let me kind of... So, Instagram will cut us off after an hour, and that's generally when I end the thing anyway. But before we get to that point... talking about, quarantine and, you're saying your life really looks very similar to what it did before, although if there was anything that you wanted to do more now, you can't do it. But
yeah,
just, one of the questions I've asked a lot of people I've interviewed is, are there certain things that you're doing, or are there certain ways that you're adapting, or ways you're thinking about things that's helping you cope and kind of get through this really strange time?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, I have to admit that, I feel like most of us have been affected by fear relating to the pandemic in some way, whether it's fear of losing work, fear of getting sick, fear of somebody you love getting sick or dying, or fear of the government and what they're doing and not doing, so many different things. And that's all affected me. in my household for sure in some way. But you know, I might not be the best person to ask, because it's like, although I can't like go roam around the mall like I want to, you know, like my partner and I both work from home, and we have 3 cats, and they all work from home, and like we live in an area where there's like a lot of open space, and like the grocery store. I said supermarket. Does anybody say supermarket anymore? The grocery store is like not like super packed and populated and stuff like that. So it's like, you know, if we couldn't like order things online, like you know, things we need for the house and stuff, like that would probably like make things a bit worse. But like we've just really kind of adapted. I mean, we would rather not be doing this, you know, but it's like, it just hasn't been super difficult. There's been these inconveniences, like, you know, my partner couldn't go to her friend's wedding in Alabama or wherever it was, or something, Tennessee. Sorry, Amanda. And like, I don't know, things like that. Like, and we're not as lax when we're out, you know, about like, you know, where we go and what we do. But it's like, it really just hasn't been super hard. So like a lot of, I'm doing plenty of coping. It's just not super pandemic related.
I mean, there may be some things.
I just want to acknowledge really quick, like the insane privilege that I have, because I haven't lost work, been able to stay healthy. I don't work a job where I have to like be face to face with all kinds of people all the time. Like I'm able to like live like in a house kind of far away from like a dense population. Like there's so much privilege here, it's disgusting. So I just have to acknowledge that. Like I don't mean to brag like, oh, my life's fine actually, when other people are like, when it's been much, much, much worse for other people. So it's like, I'm super grateful, but I'm also not trying to like brag about it, you know?
I don't think anybody thinks you're trying to brag about it.
Yeah, I guess I just like feel self-conscious about saying like, oh, pandemic is no biggie.
No, I don't. I think everybody knows what you mean. It would be ridiculous if somebody took that the wrong way.
I know, that's true. That's true. That's the truth. It's just, yeah, I guess that was a little bit of, you know, I don't know, something, some self-something, self-doubt.
Yeah.
I don't know, self-consciousness.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you guys are hanging in there. You've also got, I want to take the opportunity to share, you've got a streaming show, or on the 30th as well?
Oh yeah, that's right. I do, don't I? Yeah, I'm doing a live streaming thing for the Chicago Museum of Art. Yeah, like a Halloween thing.
The MCA, right?
Yeah, MCA, yeah. I'm doing like a couple smaller DJ sets, meaning I'm just going to be playing WAV files on my computer. And then also I set up all my gear in my bed with a green screen. So there'll be,
that's cool.
There'll be a bedtime performance. It's really weird to sit and scream.
That's so great. It's been so great talking to you. I really appreciate you being on the show, but also, you know, you're so open and you really shared a lot about your experience, and I really appreciate hearing about that. I know everybody else does too. And I really look forward to new music. And is there any parting words or anything else you want to make sure to say to the people who are listening either now or later when I put it up as the podcast?
If anybody wants to get in touch with me and give me their email, I'll add them to my emailing list. It's kind of like my favorite way to like share stuff, because it's kind of a digest and you don't have to like follow my social networks and like wait for separate posts about different things. So just find me on the internet somewhere and be like, add me and give me your email and I'll put you on there. Cool.
Well, thank you. Yeah. And for everybody watching, I'm Jessica Risker. I'm a musician, but I also do music therapy about once a week or so. Next Saturday, not this Saturday, but the following Saturday, I have Brianna Tong of Cordoba on. But you can follow me at Instagram if you want to like get the notifications about that stuff. And then not to compete with your show, but I'm also doing a Halloween therapy show on the 30th, which I asked you to play, but you were already booked for what seems like a very cool show. So I can't blame you for that. So I hope you guys are all, everybody who's watching, I hope you guys are all hanging in there and doing well. And thank you so much for tuning in. If you missed any of it and you want to go back and listen more, it will be on, I'll save it to my IGTV, and then I also put them up on YouTube, and then eventually when I get to it in a few days, it will be up as a podcast at your favorite podcatcher. I just learned that word today.
Podcatcher.
The podcatcher. So thank you guys. I hope you're doing well. Thank you, Angel.
Yep.
And have a good one.
Yeah, you too.
Okay, bye.